You should never trust a creature that you have not seen or heard, and no one is brave enough to breathe the word of. In the Helliverse, we have met or heard mention of all sins except for one. Leviathan, called by many names, the great whale, the torturous serpent, the prince of envy. While we also haven't seen Belphegor or Satan, I think we can trust in Queen Bee's empathic powers. She is able to sense vibes, and I don't think she would willingly align herself with bad company. Mammon, on the other hand, would align himself with nothing but bad company. I can't help but wonder, with all the aquatic imagery and greed, if Leviathan is in league with Mammon. As it stands in Season 2, we see a lot of deep-sea transplants all throughout Greed. That, coupled with the unusual decor of X's and O's, one could argue that greed and envy are two sides of a single coin. They are like twins, both focused on the desire to acquire money, possessions, status, recognition. And if Mammon is shaping up to be a serious big bad against Fizarali and Osmodius, then Leviathan may play a similar role, placing strain and endangering another relationship in the show. Depending on how tapped into my TikTok you are, there are two main things you might know about me. One, I believe that more happened the night of the circus fire, and Blitz is not the primary one at fault. And two, I believe that the sin Leviathan connects back to Blitz in one way or another, be it the patron of their circus, a possible past mentor who ushered Blitz into assassin work, or what's looking more and more likely, a past partner who played with his emotions and tainted his perception of both love and intimacy. I can't help but notice the pirate imagery that seems to follow Blitz throughout the show, and though not as prevalent as his interest in horses, it is consistent. We can see it in his childhood play with Stolas, as well as Fizarali when he pushes to enact a great pirate war, though sometimes the imagery is more subtle. Like Calico Jack's Jolly Roger, 2 crossed swords and a skull. A pirate well known for having 2 ruthless women on his crew. And then we do have less subtle imagery like treasure maps. Or more curiously, possibly enchanted flintlock pistols, a favorite weapon of pirates. That just so happens to show up in the show consistently. That also has a sea serpent aesthetic. And speaking of that aesthetic, has anyone noticed that the serpent's eye is everywhere? In the office and in Blitz's home. It almost makes me wonder if Leviathan is watching Blitz through gifts he gave him. Finally, let's get to the elephant in the room. Why I couldn't decide on Blitz's relationship with Leviathan. The only reason I hesitated to place Leviathan as Blitz's past partner is the timeline. And that is because during the episode Oops, the conversation between Fizz and Blitz makes it clear that Fizz knows intimate details of the situation. The discomfort, the hesitation, the uncomfortable atmosphere. And then you realize that it has been 15 years since they've seen each other. If you want to be generous, that would place Blitz at 20 or 22 when he's dating Leviathan. If you want to be less generous, you could place him in his teens. It really depends how deep this trauma runs, but it would explain a lot of Blitz's behaviors. Some survivors may have low sexual self-esteem or perceive themselves as sexual objects existing to fulfill the sexual needs of others. Some will even find validation in this sexual fulfillment because that is what they see as their value during these events. And in addition, some survivors may not see themselves as worthy of love and affection. A lot of the signs are there, and it does feel like if we were to go deeper, we'd find a trauma beyond the circus fire. We are left wondering with how Blitz treats his sexuality.